Hello and welcome to another video tutorial Monday. This week I will be showing you how to use a sketch as the idea basis for a card. So I have these sketches from Lucy Abrams. If you want to print out this PDF, she has it on her blog on the January 8th, 2011 post. And she's been doing some sketch challenges lately, so I just wanted to show you how to use them because I know lots of crafters like to enter challenges and maybe you're not familiar with how to use a sketch, or maybe you just want to know how I usually use a sketch. So I decided I wanted to use this one from January 4th, and the circle can be anything. So what I wanted to do was put a stamped image in that space, and then I decided that it'd be really cool to have a window to the inside of the card where my stamped image would be. So what I'm going to do is make the front of this card and then punch a hole through it and then have this cute little fox peeking out through the card. So I'm just going to fold this up and then there we go, and then we put it on the edge of my desk and I will get started. So first what I'm going to do is ink up this background piece right here down the middle, and I decided to use my background stamp on this because it's a lot easier to fix if you mess up the background stamping on a small piece versus the entire background piece of a card. And I'm always thinking about that because, you know, with background stamps, sometimes you get really wonderful impressions and then sometimes you accidentally move it and it's really frustrating. So I decided this is kind of a way to combat that. So what I'm going to do is this is just a scrap piece of paper. It's Vintage Cream by Paper Tray Ink. It's 2.5 inches wide. And I'm just going to try to get it as parallel as possible. As parallel as possible to the edges of those, because it's going to go in my card vertical, and this stamp is only as tall as my card is. So I think that should be enough pressing. Ooh, okay, that worked out really well. So I'm just going to set that aside. Next, I have my card base. This is Sweet Blush cardstock, and it's just a standard size card. And I'm going to see, okay, that'll look good. Yeah, this 2.5 inches is a really good width for the standard size card. So what I'm going to do is actually trim this down first. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to ink these edges, the inside edges, the ones that I won't be able to get to later, with this warm lipstick Distress ink, just really lightly around the edges. Okay. So, set that aside. And now what I'm going to do is kind of put some adhesive on this. Okay, now I can trim off the edges. And the only reason I did that after I put it on the card was so that I just get the best fit possible. I didn't really know, I mean, my measurements could have been slightly off when I cut the card, so I didn't want to take the chance of cutting the piece too small since I wanted to go from top to bottom. So now I'm just inking the edges of the cards, or the card. Apparently I'm making multiple cards. So I'm inking the edges here super quickly, easily. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is get my center part ready to cut out. So I'm using this circle from the Nestability Circle Large, and this is the 2-inch circle probably, and I'm going to put that down with some washi tape because this will come right off, but it will also hold your die in place while it's die cutting. So I'm just gonna center it, make sure that the stamp fits. So I'm just going to slide it up a little bit here, because you don't want your stamp hanging off the edge. So once it looks like it's centered, just go ahead and stick it down. I'm back from die cutting. I had to add a shim because just an extra piece of cardstock. It didn't really like cutting through all the layers, but that shouldn't really be a problem, so maybe my machine's just a little bit off today. So what I'm going to do, just carefully peel up this tape. Okay. Okay, so a little bit of ripping there, but that's fine. It's all part of the distressed look, right? So just pop that out. Looks like we have a nice impression around it too, so that's all cool. I'm just going to ink the inside of this really quickly. Now we have our wonderful card base here. I want to stamp my sentiment. Actually, we'll do that last. Next what I'm going to do is just get my little fox ready for the inside of the card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp him twice. Once, I'm just using fountain pen ink from Benny Bolin Studios. It's the black color. So I'm just going to stamp him once on the orange, and this one is going to be paper pieced. So don't need to worry about it getting it perfect, I guess. And then this one is the one that's going to be the base, I believe. Yeah. So make sure that one's nice and a good stamped image. Looks good. And now what I'm going to do is just cut out these parts that I would color orange on this one. So just give me a second and I will be right back. I'm back. I cut out the little fox, all the orange parts. Now I'm just going to go in with some glossy accents and you just use it as adhesive. Okay, and now I can just stick this little dude down. There we go. And that adds some nice dimension to him as well. I like that, instead of just coloring it. And then I'm just going to cut him out, and I'll be back in a second. Cut this little guy out, and now we're just going to adhere him to the inside of the card with some regular old ATG. What I'm going to do is kind of place him where I think he'll go, and then close the card and adjust it. So I want him to come over a little bit and up a little bit. So that looks pretty good. Now let me just open the card back up, adjust it a little bit, and stick him down. So that's really cute. I like that. So next what we're going to do is just stamp the sentiment at the bottom. That'll go right across the bottom here. Alright, this is CL340. Happy birthday, Saints, or birthday Saints. As you can see, it's a very, very well-loved stamp set from me. And I'll just go with Birthday Girl at the bottom here. I'm just going to go ahead and ink up my stamp. And stamp it down. Perfect! So, we have the little Birthday Girl. Gotta ink this up too. Then we'll just adhere it with some dimensional adhesive. These are by EK Success. And we'll just have it go across the whole card. So what I'm going to do is just put these right here, stick it down, and then put more dimensional adhesive on the edges when I know where they are. Okay, so I'm going to trim the edges first. Then use some more dimensional adhesive. Then just ink those edges again. And then I also wanted to do a little tiny bow on her head. So what I'm going to do is just take this silk ribbon from Paper Tray Ink, and I'm just going to make a little bow with it. so there's the little bow. And then what I'm going to do is just use my inker, actually. My little ink pad here. And I'm just going to add a little bit of pink. I'm not going to make it completely pink, but a nice little pink tint there. And then use a glue dot to adhere it down. How adorable is that? Over here. So now it's a little birthday girl fox. Okay, so my last step is going to be adding some stitching down the sides here. So I'm just going to quickly punch some holes. Down the side, and I'm going to actually use my ruler here. Actually, around the inside of the circle instead. I was going to punch down the sides, but I like this idea better. And then I'm just going to use pink, no. I'm going to use some black thread around the outside. Over here. Go through to the front, and then tape down this end with some washi tape. Because what else would I use? And then I'm just going to go around the edge here of the hole, going in, and then back out with the thread. And I'll be back in a second when I finish sewing around the circle. Just going around the circle with the thread, and now I'm just going to go back, lift up this piece of tape, stick the other end under, and then trim it. Really quick and easy there. And while I was sewing, I decided that the inside needed a little sentiment to make this inside design complete. So I'm just going to use this set, Sending Smiles Messages CL490 from Hero Arts, and use the I Hope All Your Wishes Come True that goes with the birthday sentiment on this stamp set. So I'm just going to pull out my block here, make sure it's centered in the block. Good enough. And then I'm just going to stamp it over to the side like that. Just going to put it on my little pad here so that I get the right amount of bounce when I stamp down. And let's pray that this works out, because otherwise I'm not going to be very happy. Okay, so press this little guy down, little wiggle. Alright, perfect. So, okay, so that's the inside of the card. I'll probably change this color washi tape just so it matches a little bit more, but it's fine to leave it like that. And then here is the final card, and this was the original sketch. So it didn't stray too far away from the sketch. I think it'd be really cool to make a card that looked more like this, where it has the hole over on the side. So maybe I'll just try that for my next card or something like that. Okay, well thank you for watching this week. I hope you enjoyed the little video tutorial, and catch you again next week for Video Tutorial Monday.